Entering into an arranged marriage can be a distressing and challenging experience, especially when parental and societal expectations override personal feelings. Many people feel like prisoners in an imposed marriage, struggling to find space for their own emotions and desires. In this guide, we'll explore the nuances of arranged marriages, from understanding the cultural context to the importance of reclaiming your own voice and autonomy. Through the following enriching topics, you'll discover how to overcome a marriage imposed by your parents and ultimately create a relationship based on self-love and authenticity. Arranged marriages are deeply rooted in cultural traditions that value family, heritage preservation, and social status. In many cultures, parents believe they are ensuring their children's safety and future by choosing the right partner, following long-standing social norms. Understanding these motivations is crucial for those trapped in this reality, but that doesn't mean that personal feelings should be ignored. It is possible to balance respecting tradition with acknowledging your own emotions. However, living in a marriage imposed by your parents can be emotionally taxing. For many, there is a feeling of being trapped in a commitment they did not choose, living as a prisoner of an arranged marriage. Recognizing this frustration and the feeling of loss of freedom is the first step in dealing with the situation. It is not about denying your roots, but about understanding that, amidst social pressure, there is room to honor who you are and what you feel. In some cases, parents believe they know what is best, and this can generate almost unbearable pressure. However, it is possible to use this understanding to open a path of dialogue, where feelings are not dismissed, but rather presented in a respectful way. When you understand the cultural context, it is easier to build bridges instead of barriers with your own family. And it is precisely this knowledge that can give you the strength you need to start rewriting your story, even if slowly. Imagine yourself in a reality where, from a very young age, you know that your love life is already mapped out by someone else. The smiles at family gatherings, the proud looks of your parents, everything seems to revolve around a decision that is not yours: marriage. You had no choice, and perhaps you didn't even dare to question it, because, after all, that's how it's always been done. Being a prisoner of an arranged marriage is a silent reality that many live, but few talk about. When you understand the cultural context of arranged marriages, you begin to perceive the deep layers that sustain these traditions. For your parents, marrying you to the right person is a way of ensuring that your life follows the safe path, often already paved by previous generations. They believe they are protecting your future, even if this protection comes at the cost of your freedom of choice. But inside you, a silent cry echoes, the desire to be seen, to be heard, to be understood as an individual. From the moment you recognize this reality, the need to deal with a whirlwind of emotions arises. Perhaps it's the frustration of feeling trapped in a marriage imposed by your parents, or the sadness of being in a relationship without choice. However, acknowledging these feelings is an act of courage. Feeling angry or discouraged is not a weakness, it is a human response to what, in some ways, represents a rupture with your own self. And that is where the next phase of this journey comes in: how to establish healthy boundaries. How to say no to the expectations that your parents have imposed without breaking the bonds that you have. Many have faced this battle, and the answer lies in balance. With firmness and respect, it is possible to communicate your emotional needs, making it clear that, although you understand why your parents decided for you, now is the time to chart your own path. This journey is not easy, but by finding your space within an arranged marriage, you rediscover who you are. Learning to express yourself, to create small moments of autonomy, can be the beginning of something powerful. Even in a situation that seems inescapable, there is always the possibility of personal growth. Thus, little by little, you begin to break the bonds of an arranged marriage. When someone finds themselves forced into an arranged marriage, the emotions can become a roller coaster. Sometimes it's easy to ignore the impact that this situation has on your heart and mind, but not acknowledging these feelings can become an emotional trap. The frustration and sadness that arise from not having had a choice needs to be validated. Admitting to yourself that the situation hurts, and that there's nothing wrong with feeling that way, is an important step in beginning to heal. Many people, Especially those who are people in cultures that value the collective over the individual feel guilty about questioning tradition. But repressing these feelings, whether out of fear of disappointing parents or shame in admitting dissatisfaction, only deepens the pain. The anger that comes from being trapped in a marriage without choice is not something to be avoided. On the contrary, it is essential to recognize that these feelings are a natural response to an emotionally oppressive situation. To cope with these emotions, it is helpful to create small self-care rituals. Taking time to reflect and process these emotions through journaling, or even allowing yourself to vent to someone you trust, can be incredibly liberating. It helps you not feel overwhelmed by the pressure of being trapped in an arranged marriage. And by becoming aware of how these feelings affect your well-being, you begin to regain control over your own emotional life. This recognition is not the end, but the beginning of a process of change. When you allow yourself to feel, you also open the door to start acting more assertively. The first step is to establish healthy boundaries, not only with your parents, but also with yourself, so that you can begin to pave the way for autonomy. Setting boundaries with your parents is a delicate task, especially when dealing with the expectations of an arranged marriage. However, it is a fundamental step in preserving your own identity and emotional well-being. Many believe that by setting boundaries they are being disrespectful, but in reality, it is a form of mutual respect. Parents need to understand that, although tradition has its value, their needs and feelings also have a legitimate place. For this conversation to happen in a healthy way, it is important to choose your words carefully and be firm but respectful. A good strategy is to start this conversation in a calm environment, when everyone is willing to listen. Clarity is essential. You need to honestly express your emotions and expectations within the marriage, making it clear that, even if they have good intentions, your emotional well-being is at stake. Saying something like, "I understand how important this is to you, but I need you to understand how I feel," can pave the way for a more constructive dialogue. The goal is not to create conflict, but rather to establish a new pattern of communication. Setting these boundaries does not mean cutting ties with your parents. On the contrary, it is a way to re-establish the family connection in a healthier way. By communicating your emotional needs assertively, you also begin to educate your parents about the importance of respecting your choices and your space. Even within a marriage imposed by your parents, it is still possible to find ways to negotiate these boundaries without completely breaking with the culture or family expectations. In the long run, these boundaries are crucial to ensuring that your voice continues to be heard. They not only help preserve your mental health, but they also build a solid foundation so that you can gradually find your space and autonomy within this relationship. After all, from the moment you establish these boundaries, you begin to create space for yourself to find your own place within the marriage, a space where your identity and your needs are not stifled. Within an arranged marriage, it is common to feel that your individuality has been suppressed by the expectations imposed by both your parents and society. However, finding your own space in this relationship is possible, and more than that, it is essential for your personal growth. Even if the marriage has been imposed on you, you can still build your own identity within it, an identity that is independent of the circumstances. A good place to start is to cultivate your own interests, hobbies, or activities that help to strengthen who you are, outside of the role of a partner. For example, imagine that you always liked to paint, but due to the routine of marriage, you have put this passion aside. Resuming activities like this is a way of reaffirming your identity. Furthermore, by engaging in activities that promote your personal growth, you begin to develop emotional autonomy, a space where you can express yourself freely without depending on the approval of your spouse or family. This type of internal freedom is one of the most powerful forms of resistance in a marriage that was not initially your choice. Another important aspect is communication. Even in an arranged marriage, it is possible to talk to your partner to create space for both of you in the relationship. It can be helpful to have conversations where you set expectations and share your desires, even if it is just a little bit. These conversations can open doors for you and your partner to start building a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. This does not magically transform the marriage into something ideal, but it certainly makes living together easier and allows for the construction of a new dynamic. Over time, finding this balance can transform a relationship that seemed like a prison into a partnership where both parties have room to grow. This room for growth is not only physical, but mainly emotional. And by establishing yourself in this way, you pave the way for a more harmonious coexistence, where mutual respect can become the next step in your joint journey. Gaining mutual respect in an arranged marriage can seem like an immense challenge, especially when the relationship began without a deep emotional connection. However, respect is the foundation of any healthy relationship and, with time and effort, it can be built even in a marriage imposed by your parents. The first step is to recognize that respect does not need to be linked to immediate love, but rather to the understanding and acceptance that both parties have individual rights and needs. From there, the relationship can begin to transform from an imposition to a more balanced partnership. Respect is born when both partners are able to see each other beyond the imposed expectations. Even if your marriage is arranged, you can create an environment where your partner's appreciation for each other begins to grow. For example, by encouraging your partner to pursue their own interests or to have space for their personal activities, you show that you respect their individuality. Small gestures, such as actively listening, not interrupting, and considering each other's feelings, may seem simple, but they are essential to building a respectful relationship. In addition, establishing clear boundaries within your marriage is also an effective way to earn respect. This can include rules about personal space, alone time, and even how family decisions are made. Mutual respect does not come automatically, but is built daily, with small acts of consideration and understanding. When both partners begin to respect these boundaries, the relationship gains a solid foundation for the growth of positive feelings. Over time, this respect can be the catalyst for other emotions, such as admiration and even affection, to flourish. After all, respect is one of the most important pillars for a relationship to evolve. By focusing on this mutual construction, you not only create a healthier environment for coexistence, but you also open space for deeper dialogues and the search for emotional support, which can be essential in moments of greater vulnerability. When you are in an arranged marriage, it is easy to feel isolated, especially when the people around you seem to accept this situation as something natural. Seeking emotional support, however, is essential to prevent the weight of expectations and frustrations from becoming unbearable. Talking to someone who truly understands what you are going through can be transformative. Whether it is a close friend, a therapist, or even support groups that address the topic of arranged marriages, sharing your feelings can bring relief and new perspectives. One of the biggest challenges for those in a marriage without choice is admitting that they need help. Often, there is a fear of being judged or appearing ungrateful. However, it is important to remember that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but rather of strength. Therapy, for example, can offer a safe space to explore your emotions without fear of criticism. Books like Women Who Run with the Wolves, by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, or The Courage to Be Imperfect, by Brené Brown can help you understand how to regain your emotional autonomy amid cultural pressures. In addition, emotional support can also come unexpectedly, such as in casual conversations with people who have been through similar situations. Sometimes, just listening to other people's experiences can bring comfort and hope. Participating in online forums or discussion groups is another alternative to finding this support, especially if you don't feel comfortable talking about the subject directly with family or close friends. Sharing experiences can open your eyes to new solutions. This support is more than just temporary relief, it is a foundation that helps you move forward, even in a difficult situation. And the more you seek this support network, the more strength you gain to regain your voice and your autonomy in the relationship. After all, the path to recovering your identity begins when you feel emotionally supported, and this gives you the courage to face difficulties with greater resilience. In an arranged marriage, it is common to feel that your voice has been silenced by the expectations of others, especially your parents. However, even in a relationship without choice, it is possible to reclaim your voice and your autonomy. This reclaiming begins when you reclaim you know that you have the right to express your opinions, your desires, and, above all, your dissatisfaction. Often, people keep quiet for fear of hurting their parents or partner, but it is important to understand that prolonged silence can cause even more harm. The key is to find a way to position yourself clearly and assertively. Reclaiming your own voice requires courage, but also strategy. A practical example is to start asserting yourself in small, everyday decisions. This could be anything from choosing which movie to watch together to discussing more complex issues, such as finances or family planning. Each small victory strengthens your confidence and reaffirms your right to actively participate in your life as a couple. It is a process that, little by little, breaks down the internal and external barriers that limit your ability to act autonomously. Furthermore, defending your choices does not mean being confrontational. On the contrary, there are ways to do this diplomatically, without generating conflict. A good starting point is to use nonviolent communication, a technique that helps you express feelings and needs without attacking or blaming the other person. The phrase, "I feel more respected when my choices are taken into account," is an example of how you can respectfully claim space without triggering a heated argument. This process of regaining autonomy also helps build a solid foundation for respect within your relationship. As you gain the confidence to express yourself, you also create a new dynamic with your partner, one where both of you can grow and evolve. And once you begin to regain this autonomy, the next step is to develop a genuine dialogue with your partner, which is essential to creating a more authentic and meaningful relationship. The ability to communicate openly and honestly is one of the most important skills for anyone seeking to build a genuine relationship, even in an arranged marriage. Often, fear of conflict or insecurity about how your partner will react prevents people from expressing themselves. However, starting a dialogue does not have to be intimidating. Practicing honest conversations can transform an imposed marriage into a space for growth and connection, allowing both parties to share their emotions, insecurities, and desires. A good place to start is to practice active listening. This means not only listening to your partner's words, but also trying to understand what's behind them. By asking open-ended questions like, "What do you think about this?" or "How do you feel about?" you invite your partner to open up and share their inner world. This not only helps build trust, but also allows both of you to acknowledge and validate each other's feelings. A relationship based on dialogue grows stronger when each person feels heard and respected. In addition, addressing sensitive topics requires a certain amount of vulnerability, but it is also an opportunity for joint growth. By talking about your expectations, desires, and even frustrations, you allow your partner to see your true essence. For example, if there is something that bothers you in the relationship, bringing it up calmly and honestly can be the first step towards finding joint solutions. Using expressions like, "I feel that," or "I would like," facilitates communication and prevents the other person from feeling attacked. When this space for dialogue is cultivated, the relationship can evolve from a simple coexistence to a genuine and enriching partnership. The emotional connection that arises from this exchange is essential to transform the couple's dynamics, and this brings to light a new perspective on life as a couple. After all, by developing an open dialogue, you not only establish mutual respect, but you also prepare yourself to learn to choose for yourself, thus breaking the cycle of decisions imposed by the family. Breaking the cycle of blind family obedience is essential for those who want to take control of their own lives, especially in an arranged marriage. This change begins with the understanding that decisions about your future should be based on your own desires and needs, and not on the expectations of others. A practical example is setting personal goals, such as pursuing a career that you really want or investing in hobbies that bring you joy, helping to strengthen your identity and self-esteem. This journey of self-discovery brings emotional freedom, allowing you to feel more confident in making choices that reflect who you really are. As you begin to make decisions that prioritize your well-being, a new perspective forms. The emotional empowerment that comes from choosing for yourself is transformative and opens the door to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. This doesn't mean completely ignoring family opinions, but rather finding a balance that respects your needs. Personal needs. This process of self-affirmation also sets the stage for dealing with guilt and family pressure, helping you establish boundaries that promote your emotional well-being and the pursuit of a more authentic life. Guilt is an unwelcome companion for many in an arranged marriage, especially when parents are pressuring you to keep things the same. Recognizing that this guilt is not a reflection of your own shortcomings but a social construct is an important step in dealing with this paralyzing emotion. A good method is to write in a journal about your feelings, allowing yourself to explore and understand the origins of this guilt. This practice can help demystify the pressure you feel and validate it as a natural part of the process of breaking out of family patterns. Another strategy is to talk openly with your parents about your emotions and your choices. Even though this conversation may be difficult, it is important for them to understand that you are seeking your own happiness and not just following an expected path. Using phrases like, "I appreciate your intentions, but I need to pursue what's best for me," can help establish a healthy dialogue. Being able to deal with guilt and family pressure not only frees you emotionally, but also creates space for rebuilding your life, which should be based on self-love and the pursuit of genuine happiness. Rebuilding your life after an arranged marriage is an act of courage that begins with self-love. It's essential to understand that, even in the midst of family expectations, you have the right to pursue happiness and well-being. This may mean rediscovering your passions, setting new goals, and cultivating supportive relationships. Practicing gratitude, for example, can help you focus on the positive things in your life, reinforcing the idea that you are worthy of love and respect, both from yourself and from others. The new life you create should be based on authenticity and respect, both for yourself and for others. This involves learning to value yourself and understanding that your happiness does not depend on the approval of others. The path may be challenging, but by prioritizing your self-love, you open yourself up to rich and rewarding experiences, with or without your family's acceptance. This is how you can build a future full of joy, satisfying your emotional needs and breaking the bonds of an arranged marriage. Throughout this journey, we have seen that overcoming an arranged marriage is not just a matter of escaping an unwanted situation, but rather a process of self-discovery and personal growth. From understanding the cultural context that shapes these relationships to the importance of open dialogue with your partner, each step is essential to breaking the bonds that hold back your happiness. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date with more content like this. And don't forget to leave a comment with what you thought. Your opinion is very important to us. And remember that, regardless of family expectations, your life should be lived by you and for you. By prioritizing your self-love and desires, you can rebuild your life and create a future where respect and happiness are the pillars of your relationship, whether it's with a partner or with yourself.